and
Great.
I just
You got it.
recording.
Great catching it.
That's teamwork right there. Makes the
Yes, sir.
dream work.
Toda Rabad, Mighty Rabbi.
Hallelujah. Okay, so we from here on we're recording. So it's in your hands.
Hey, Toda. Toda Rabbi Benjamin HaKohen for his assistance. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Erev Tov. I am Moreh Amram, and I welcome you to the ICVC, the Israelite Community Vision Council's presentation on the essential documents. You can reach us at ICVC Essential Documents at protonmail.com for more information. Next, please. Rabbi, next. Yes.
In progress.
Mute your mic. Our statement, the Essential Documents Committee statement for our mission as the Essential Documents Committee is our goal is to define what documents are essential, inform the Israelite community on the importance of having these documents, and assist them in obtaining and securing these documents that can provide certain protections under law. Next, please. Now you may ask, what are essential documents? Essential documents are the documents you need to establish your identity, property, ownership, and keep your financial assets safe. In other words, documents that help you navigate in this present world. Next, Babakusha. Next. Well, we're going to touch briefly on the first tier, but we're going to delve more deeper into the second and third, but briefly talking about the first tier of the essential documents, the documents that consist of birth records, social security cards, residency documentation, legal guardianship, foster or adoption records, school ID and or records for children. Now, many people don't like to talk about the what ifs, right? And it's been my experience in the community of Yisrael, or generally Black people, period, that we're always playing catch up. We are not prepared. This presentation basically is showing us, teaching us, and urging us to prepare. To prepare for what, you may ask? To prepare for any and everything. There's an old Boy Scout motto that says, be prepared. And us being the people of Yah, we should always know and always should be prepared. But what about the ifs, the unexpected events, sudden illnesses, sudden deaths, disasters, emergency relocation, loss of employment, and etc. Now, one thing we certainly can identify with in this last couple of years is sudden deaths, right, with this plague that's upon the earth. And if it has taught us anything, it has taught us to be prepared, because this plague is taking young and old. It doesn't matter. So essential documents are those documents that we need to keep handy just in case. They consist of legal identification documents. Next, please. The birth certificate. We know a birth certificate is a vital record that documents the birth of a person. The term birth certificate can refer to either the original document certifying the circumstances of the birth, or to a certified copy of a representation of the issuing registration of that birth. Depending on the jurisdiction, a birth certificate has to provide data such as ethnicity, parents, and other characteristics. You cannot get a passport without a birth certificate. They have two forms. They have the long form birth certificate and the short form, right? In the case of applying for a U.S. passport, not all birth certificates are acceptable. And one thing also to keep in mind in the birth certificate, make sure, I repeat, make sure that the spelling is correct. Because once the birth certificate is filed and issued, and you come to find out that one letter or two is misspelled, then you have to go to court to get it corrected, right? Our parents, our parents, or depending on your age, grandparents and great-grandparents didn't have to worry about those. Births was usually recorded in the Bibles, births and the deaths. But here we are in the 21st century, and we have to familiarize ourselves with all these things. Some parents didn't pass this knowledge down to their children, right? But Todah, the Most High, thanks the Most High that we are here to help and to assist, to ready ourselves and prepare. Next, please. And we're going to cover the second tier documents, such as driver's license, identification, passport, legal name change documents, marriage documents and ketubas, divorce decrees, wills, healthcare directives, and estate documentation beneficiaries. So we see there's a lot of information here to cover, so we're not going to delay. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, medical records. That's the third tier that we're gonna cover. Next, please. I already covered the birth records, right? They can be obtained from the Office of Vital Records in the state of the birth event. Next, please. Social Security cards. Now, Social Security card is your 9-digit Social Security number. It is your first and continuous connection with Social Security. It helps the government identify and accurately record your covered wages or self-employment earnings. They use it also to monitor your record once you start receiving benefits. Why do you need a Social Security card? Well, simple. You need it to get a job, collect Social Security benefits, and to receive other government benefits. Keep your Social Security card with the rest of your essential documents in a safe place. Avoid giving out your Social Security number unnecessarily. That's scams that's going around are prevalent in these days and times. And any legitimate company or organization will not ask you for your Social Security card over the phone, right? You don't need to carry your Social Security card with you everywhere, right? Simply knowing your Social Security number is enough. If that's a reputable place or a reputable business or agency, then once they type in your Social Security card, they know that it's you. So remembering your number is good enough. Keep your Social Security card at home in somewhere safe, right? But to replace a lost or stolen card, you must be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident. You have to be 18 years or older with a U.S. mailing address. They are not, and you are not requesting a name change. A name change is totally different that we will cover later on, or any other changes to your card. You have to have a valid driver's license or a state-issued ID card from one of the many participating states when you go to the Social Security office to replace your card. Next, please. Rabbi, next, please. Todah. Residency affidavit. What is a residency affidavit document? There are times when a court or a business will ask you to prove where you live. An affidavit of residence is a legal document you can use to verify your residence and the residency of anyone living with you. An affidavit is most often used in response to a school, a financial institution, court, or other entity. Requests for proof of residency, you may also need to use the affidavit to verify where someone lived before their death. Certain agencies or other institutions often ask you to verify the residency of a deceased family member before releasing the deceased accounts or funds, in which case a copy of the death certificate may be required as an attachment to the affidavit. Next, Rabbi. Next, please. Kane, Toda. Legal guardianship documents. Now, we know legal guardianships, you have to have those papers in order also. There's one of those scenarios just in case, right? A legal guardian is a person who has the legal authority to care for the personal and property interests of another person, called a ward. They don't have anyone, to vouch for them. They may be a minor. Most likely they're a minor or a person that is developmentally disabled, right? Or someone that they need a caretaker. That's why you need legal guardianship, okay? There are many types of guardianships. One, legal guardianship of an incapacitated senior due to old age or infirmity. Two, guardian of a minor, right? Three, guardian of a developmentally disabled adult or child found to be incompetent. Legal guardianship forms can be downloaded from the internet and via PDF. Next, please, Rabbi. School IDs and records. Now, you may say, well, how is that? Why is that essential? Why is that important? Because the school ID clearly identifies students, faculty, and visitors at a glance. They monitor and control who has access to specific areas of the school and the school itself, among other things. That's the ID card. Now, school records goes deeper and is more personal. School records often include a lot of sensitive information about the student and their families. As a parent or guardian, you might be concerned. Federal law protects the privacy of school records. Information about the student name, address, phone number, and more. Personal identifying information, including the student's birthday, their social security number, their parents' or guardian's name, and contact info. The courses taken, attendance, records, grades, school disciplinary actions taken, medical and health records, immunization. This information is protected under federal law, under federal family law, excuse me. And Rights and Privacy Act, which is called FERPA, that's acronym, right? It gives parents and guardians, including anyone acting in a parental role in the observance, such as a foster parent or step parent. The law applies to all educational institutions that receives federal funds, which includes practically every public and private school or college. So you have to keep those records safe, and they're protected anyway. You have to get permission to access those records. You may need to formally ask for copies, either from your ex or from the school. For non-custodial parents and those who share custody, the natural parent cannot be denied access to their children's records. All of this information is available online. Next. Now we're getting into the meat of it. The driver's license as opposed to state identification. Now, a driver's license, we all know that it's an official document that states that a person may operate one or more types of motor vehicles, right? The law relating to licenses varies between jurisdictions. It contains information such as age, height, the date of birth. There is a fee. Matter of fact, there's a fee for both of them. But a non-driver's ID card, that's different. You cannot operate a motor vehicle with just a non-driver's ID card, but you have to apply at the Department of Motor Vehicle to obtain one of them. Check to see what proof of identity you will need to present. It is recommended that you get an enhanced or real ID driver's or non-driver's ID. After October 1st, 2021, only the enhanced or real ID will be accepted to get on a domestic flight or to enter a federal building or a military base, unless you have a passport or other federally accepted form of ID. So they're not issuing regular driver's license or regular state IDs anymore. It's either a real or an enhanced. As a matter of fact, they work somewhat like a passport. It has identification on it, and you can go across the borders. I know you can go to Canada with it. It's not too far away. If you plan to travel, you should upgrade now. Go to the Department of Motor Vehicle website in your area to determine which ID is right for you. Next, please. Passports. You should visit the U.S. Department of State website to learn how to apply for a passport and what documents you will need. On January 31st, 2019, the Department of Homeland Security provided information on the passport application process, on obtaining a visa, border crossing documents, and general travel tips. Carry your passport with you. Do not pack it in your checked luggage. Make a copy of your passport as a safeguard in case it is lost and stolen. As a matter of fact, make a copy of all of your essential documents, every last one of them, and keep them safe. Keep one copy in your bug out bag or your go bag that will be discussed later on in this presentation. Next, please. Legal name change. Now, this is a good subject because those of us that the Father has called into the light to live this way of Torah, that we want to drop our slave names, as it were, right? And we want to take on a Hebraic name, a Hebrew name. And you have to change your name legally. Why? We know why, because, hey, we were brought here slaves, and we carry the names of the slave masters on us, from our social security cards, our birth certificates, or what have you. So if you want to change your name legally, there's a way to do it. Government agencies will not accept your name change without a court order. There are different forms for a legal name change. 1, changing your name through marriage, divorce, adoption, or citizenship. Adult names, there are forms for those. Adult name change petition program is recommended if you're an adult. A child name change petition, if it's a child. Adult name change order for the child name change consent. Rules varies from state to state. Visit the website in your area. For example, I'm in New York, so I would go to newyorkcourts.gov. That's newyorkcourts.gov. And they have a whole list of things that you want to do, from changing your name to obtaining certain documents, what have you. Next, please. Now, marriage documents. This is important. This is most important, very important, because we see here a lot of us are used to shacking up. And in our community, at least, there should be no such thing as a man and woman shacking up. Common law. So if the brother wants to live his life with the woman, he should marry her. If the sister wants to spend her life with the man and they love each other, then they should get married, because things can happen when you're not married. I can remember this celebrity, this sports celebrity, I believe it was. I can't remember his name now, but he had a common law wife and he died. And you know, the judge would not grant her anything of his assets, nothing, because they were common law. I know some say that, oh, if you're married for X amount of time, 10 years or more, then you're considered married. No, no, no. I guess depending on the judge or depending on the jurisdiction you are in. And not only that, there's other problems involved with not marrying, not committing to each other, right? If you're living in law, living the way of life that Yah prescribed for us, but your other family members are not, and if you're not married, if something happens to you, then your family members can come in and just take everything. They can make the funeral arrangements. And if they choose to respect the person, then they can. But if not, you have no power to do anything. And why anyway? Why shack up? It doesn't make sense. Take away the woman's reproach and marry her. And sisters, don't lower your standards to just shack up with a guy for 10, 20 years. Oh, we're going to shack up to see how it's going to work out. No, 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 no. There's a way to go about these things. You need counseling, right? You need a courtship. Then you get the marriage. That saying goes, first come something, then come marriage, then come the lady with the baby carriage. Nowadays, it's the baby carriage before anything because people can't control themselves. And then they find out that, hey, they don't love each other. This is one reason why I advise the youth to never, ever, ever fall in love. No, don't fall in love. Rather, what you should do is grow in love, nurture that relationship. If you're a farmer or you have a garden and you want to get the best crop that you can, what you do? You make sure that plant has enough water, has enough sunlight. How much less for marriage? How are you going to learn one another? You have to have counseling and you have to grow together. So don't fall in love, grow in love. Okay? The marriage document or certificate or license. A marriage license is the legal document which you must have in order to get married. A marriage certificate is the legal document that proves that you have been married. You have to go to the city clerk's office to apply for the marriage license. Make sure everything is spelled correctly. You need a witness, right, when you go there to apply for your marriage license. So just take the time out. If you feel that she's for you or you feel that he's for you, take the time out and make it official, brothers and sisters. Next, ketubas. A ketubah is a Hebraic or Jewish marriage contract, right? Considered an integral part of a traditional Hebraic marriage. Some say it's an alternative to state marriage license. It outlines the rights and responsibility of the groom and bride. It's honored in Hebraic communities. This document must be safeguarded. And some civil courts in some places it's not enforced. But we know that in our nation, a marriage is just not just taking the woman and, like I said earlier, shacking up. There's a contract, right? There's a public ceremony that everyone knows that this man and this woman are joined together to become as one. When Yah said that a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave unto his wife and they become one flesh, it wasn't that easy. You have to court. How do you know if you're compatible? And once you realize you have it, then you have to get the contracts drawn up. There's a way to do everything, a right way and a wrong way. And the right way is always in righteousness. Next, please. Divorce decree documents. Unfortunately, if the marriage doesn't work out, then there's a process for that. Some brothers say, hey man, the Torah says you just give her a bill of divorcement and send her away. Okay, let's be realistic here. You want to write the sister a letter. First of all, where you living? Are you living in her house? Or is she living in your house? Or you share the house together or an apartment? Ideally, you're supposed to bring your wife into your house. That's what Torah dictates, right? But in these days and times, we forget all about that. A divorce decree document is the final step in the court proceeding for a divorce, contains the court's decision. The decree is different from a divorce certificate. Certificate is for record-keeping purposes only. You also should keep that in a safe place. When you're divorcing, just as when you get married, you should have counseling. Maybe you can work things out, right? If you have counseling from a respected elder or the priest or the rabbis, I don't know how people don't like to get counseling too much. Or when we do, we like to pit each other against one another. But in all things, what Solomon said, with much counseling is a matter established. So whether you get married, before you get married, you get the counseling. If it has to come to a divorce, get the counseling. The Most High said he hates putting away. So a divorce, a decree, or a certificate is not just writing the sister a letter and sending her away. Remember now that ketubah outlines the responsibilities of the groom. So think twice before jumping the broom, as they say. Okay? If you plan, okay. Okay. Next, please. We're moving on to wills. Now, this is truly keeping in step with what this presentation is all about, essential documents. A will, right? A simple will, most associated with the word will. You can decide who will receive your assets and also name a guardian for minor children. You can get a form online, right? You have a testamentary trust will. A testamentary trust will, it places some assets into a trust for the benefit of your beneficiaries and name a trustee to handle the trust. It's useful if you have beneficiaries who are minors that you don't want to inherit your assets to handle on their own. You know, children are irresponsible. A lot of adults are irresponsible. This type of will places conditions on the inheritance, which may be granted based on an age or other factors. And then you have the joint will. A joint will is signed by two or more people as a separate will for each tester, also called mirror will, is executed by spouses in favor of the other spouse to inherit everything. The terms of the joint will, including executor, beneficiaries, and other provisions, cannot be changed, even after the death of one of the testers. Because of this inflexibility, joint wills become problematic for the surviving spouse, as their wishes may change later on. Now, a living will has nothing to do with distributing your property after death. Instead, it allows you to choose what medical treatments you want to have if you become incapacitated. In a living will, you may also name someone to make decisions on your behalf. In some states, an advanced healthcare directive combines a living will and a healthcare power of attorney or proxy. So it's very important to understand your state's laws on these issues. Note, you can have more than one type of will at the same time, and different wills can't all be valid For example, a living will legally can legally coexist with a simple will, since they serve entirely different purposes. I would advise you to get an experienced estate planning attorney for help, right? And wills are very, very, very important. You know, celebrities that who died without a will, like Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, Prince, Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, right? For example, Jimi Hendrix died in the 1970s, but the feud over control of his estate continued long after. In fact, it lasted more than 30 years after his death among his siblings. No one can predict the future, which is why many people don't stop to think about drafting their wills. We have to think about the future. Remember, I said at the beginning of this presentation, preparedness. We have to be prepared. Not leaving a will behind can lead to many problems. Sure, you won't be around to deal with it, with the mess, but your family may end up battling it out in court, especially if they feel like they have been left out. Not leaving a will can lead to long court battles and can tear the family apart. It is important. Some states don't require a will to be notarized, so it's important to check with a lawyer about what you need to do about your final wishes. And that ties into the marriage, brothers and sisters, again. If you have an Isha or you have an Ish that you're just living with, shacking up with, and one of you die, then what's to happen with your assets? I know a lot of us will say, I don't have no assets. I'm poor and needy. You'll be surprised if you take inventory of what you have, right? We all love jewelry. We all have bank accounts. Some of us have stocks and bonds. Those are things to think about. You don't want to pass away and then someone that wasn't really close to you just come and start looting your stuff, taking your stuff away, or maybe even the government, right? So we must think about a will. When is the best time to do that? I say now, when you're healthy, when you have good health and a good brains in your head. Now is the time. You can always amend it or ratify it at some other date, but the longest journey begins with what? The first step. Next, please. Healthcare or advanced directives. Advanced directive is like a living will in the sense that advanced directive is a written legal instruction regarding your preferences for medical care. Advanced directives aren't just for older adults that are terminally ill, seriously injured, in a coma, have dementia, or in the late stages of life. Situations can happen at any age, so it's important for all adults to prepare these documents. Think about and select what life-sustaining treatment you might want or want to avoid. Choose the best spokesperson for you. Create a list of important people to contact in case of emergency. Begin conversations with your spokesperson, your loved ones, and healthcare providers. Create a personal letter for them. Communicate your preferences for burial and funeral arrangements. You can download these forms online, right? It's called www.planningmyway.com. All of these forms, if you have any inquiries, please send us an email or request an email at ICVC essential documents at protonmail.com. Next, Rabbi, King Toda. Estate documentation beneficiaries, right? Estate, your physician cannot refuse. Oh, those are medical records, yes. The term medical records and medical chart are used somewhat interchangeably to describe the systematic documentation of a single patient's medical history and care across time within one particular healthcare provider's jurisdiction. A physician cannot refuse to provide your medical record directly to you in favor of to another provider. But know that physicians can charge a flat fee. HIPAA, which is HIPAA, it stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1966. The privacy rule gives you, with few exceptions, the right to inspect, review, and receive a copy of your medical records and billing records that are held by health plans and healthcare providers. Covered by the privacy rule, only you or your personal representative has the right to access your records. A healthcare provider or a health plan may send copies of your records to another provider or health plan only as needed for treatment or payment or with your permission. The privacy rule does not require the healthcare provider or health plan to share information with other providers or plans. HIPAA gives you important rights to access your PDFs, medical records, and to keep your info private. So don't let no one dupe you. Next, please. Travel immunizations. Okay. Now, this was a topic before the pandemic came about, before it struck, because certain countries that you travel to require immunizations, right? You have to have certain immunizations. For example, okay. Once travel immunizations you may need. Before you traveling, you have to inquire. International travelers open themselves up to health risks and diseases that can be very dangerous. It's better to be prepared. Obtaining the proper immunizations for travel can eliminate the risk of contracting locally contained disease like yellow fever or parasites. Now, this was before the COVID. I have something of the COVID that's coming up shortly after this. Travelers' vaccinations requirements vary based on the area of the world that you're traveling to. They may include getting a booster for a vaccination you already had as a child, or getting your first dose of a typhoid immunization, right? You can follow the basic guidelines when planning a trip overseas to help determine if you should be immunized for travel. Double check with your healthcare provider that your current immunizations are still relevant. You may need boosters or common vaccinations you may have received some time ago. Now, I know when I was traveling in the 70s, I had to get a vaccination, right? This was way before the coronavirus. And some countries still require it. You have like yellow fever, for example. You also need to obtain a yellow health card for trips overseas. This is an important certificate of vaccination issued by the World Health Organization. Your healthcare provider must fill it out, and then it needs an official stamp from the health department. You may need this card if traveling to an area where yellow fever immunization is required. Be cautious in receiving a vaccination outside of your home country, because some developing countries have less healthcare regulations and may administer immunizations that are unsanitary. Plan for the unexpected. So if you feel comfortable that you need a vaccine to go for yellow fever or not malaria, but for other diseases, typhoid, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus, diphtheria, typhoid, Japanese bee encephalitis, tick-borne encephalitis, or rabies. You need to get vaccinated against those things, right? How long do travel vaccinations last? The duration of protection for travel varies depending on the vaccine. Some travel vaccines, like inoculations for polio, hepatitis B and hepatitis A, tetanus, and diphtheria, last around 10 years or more. Yellow fever vaccine is considered good for life. Other immunizations have shorter lifespans, including shots for rabies, typhoid, Japanese bee encephalitis, and tick-borne encephalitis, which lasts between 1 and 3 years. So check with your healthcare provider. Now, malaria, they have vaccines for malaria, but I wouldn't advise getting these vaccines for malaria, tell you the truth. And even they admit, the CDC, they say, unfortunately, there is no vaccine for malaria, but anyone planning on traveling to Africa, Central or South America, the South Pacific, and certain parts of Asia may want to look into, they call it chemoprophylaxis, which is a preventative drug treatment for the disease. Check with your doctor to find out, right? But anything with that word chemoprophylaxis, and they already admitted that there is no vaccine for malaria. So I would recommend getting some very good and very strong mosquito repellent, right, to combat malaria, or not causing the mosquitoes to bite on you. So vaccinations are required for travel to some regions of the world, especially in the case of yellow fever. Without the proper documentation, travelers may be denied entry into the country. Now, mosquitoes are prolific, particularly during the hot and humid summer months in tropical regions, and is by disease-carrying females of the species. Airlines that fly to and within Africa require that passengers produce a negative COVID test. And okay, now we're moving into the COVID thing now, right? Being that the COVID-19 came upon us, and they was changing so rapidly that they're relaxing. They're starting to relax a lot of restrictions now. The restriction for a negative COVID-19 test when traveling internationally is still in effect, but they're talking about easing up on that, right? They're talking about easing up on that. The mask mandates are, they're relaxing them. I know, for example, in New York, by the 7th of the third month, you can go into a theater, a restaurant, in different places, schools. They're not enforcing the mask mandates anymore. So they believe, as a matter of fact, they call it an endemic as opposed to a pandemic, because they think everything is going to be nice and peachy. But I remember that song Bob Marley mentioned, the words in his song, when you think it's peace and safety, a sudden destruction. So my advice to you, brothers and sisters, would be to continue wearing your mask. Don't let your guard down. We have to be prepared. By all means necessary, we have to be prepared. Next, please. Right, the requirements. I spoke on that. The international flights require that passengers produce a negative COVID-19 test that has been conducted within 72 hours of their departure. Also, it's wise to check the CDC website for more information regarding travel domestically or internationally before you plan your trip, because things are changing at a rapid pace. They're easing restrictions, and they even admitted they're going to give it a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and if the numbers go back up again, then we know what? We're going to have to be masked up. They're even talking about a fourth shot now. So I know the Israelis, they already had their fourth shot, but America's looking at the world, and they're all in concert of, in unison as far as the vaccines and things are concerned. So we are supposed to be a wise and understanding people, right? So we have to understand, right? The gyms, they're relaxing the gym. mandates now, but always be prepared. Keep your ear open. Check the CDC website very often, right? Because fully vaccinated people, a lot of them are still contracting the virus. So personally, I don't see, they say, oh, well, you don't get as sick as you would. But hey, who's to say? It's the Father controlling everything. Just be prepared, brothers and sisters. Just be prepared. Next, Barak Bushah. Right, the passports. We spoke about the passports. The proof that you receive the vaccinations against the COVID-19. You can get it digitally or you can get the card, right? Several countries have adopted the use of vaccination passports. For example, the European Union, like United Kingdom, France, Israel, China, Australia, and Bahrain. Check with the State Department regarding passport requirements at www.travel.state.gov. And I suggest you travel often because these rules and regulations are changing almost daily. So you don't want to miss the boat. Toda Rabah. Next slide, please. There are some exemption forms out. Some companies are accepting the exemptions and some are not, depending on the company. I know the government agencies, for example, like the state of New York and the city of New York, under no circumstances are accepting any exemption forms, right? But all that may change, like I said, we don't know. So I'm not going to dwell on this pandemic too long because everything is changing so fast and so rapidly. We just have to keep checking on our websites and go ahead and make our best decision. Now, investments are very important. You have your property investments, you have cash investments, and you have regular investments like stocks, bonds, and so forth. There are 6 main types of investments. Shares is 1, property is 2, defensive investments, cash investments, fixed investment, growth investments, and now they have a new one we all know as cryptocurrency, right? Defensive assets, also known as income assets, are generally those that aim to provide income rather than capital growth. These assets generally have lower investment risk with more stable returns in the short term, but also generally have the potential for lower returns over the longer term. Now, I know someone that is more knowledgeable than myself in these investments, and that's our beloved Rabbi Benjamin HaKohen, that he did a presentation, and I'm sure he'll do some more presentations on the financial planning and the financial readiness. So it's very important to take a look-see of what he's saying about that. Next, please. Trust funds. A trust fund is a legal entity that holds property or assets on behalf of another person, group, or organization. It is an estate planning tool that keeps your assets in a trust managed by a neutral third party or trustee. It can include money, property, stocks, a business, or a combination of these. Trust funds include a grantor, beneficiary, and trustee. The grantor can set terms for the way assets are to be held, gathered, and or distributed. If you have a net worth of at least $100,000 and have assets in real estate or have very specific instructions on how and when you want your estate to be distributed among your heirs after your death, then a trust fund could be for you. But you may say, I don't have $100,000. Hey, you don't have to have $100,000. People will fight over pennies, right? So if you have anything considerable, it's best to either leave a will and include in that will the trust fund, you yourself are the grantor, and how you want your assets to be distributed, especially if you have minor children. Okay, let's be wise. There are three primary, types of trust, right? Three. One is revocable trust. A revocable trust is a trust whereby provisions can be altered or canceled depending on the grantor or originator of the trust during the life of that trust. Income earned is distributed to the grantor, and only after death does property transfer to the beneficiaries of the trust, right? Only after death. Okay, moving right along. It also says irrevocable trust is a type of trust where its terms cannot be modified, amended, or terminated without the permission of the grantor, named beneficiary, or beneficiaries. A testamentary trust. A testamentary trust can be a good estate planning tool if you are concerned slightly with providing for one or more beneficiaries for an extended time, such as minor children or someone with special needs, or even someone who is just not very responsible with money. So you don't want them to receive a windfall all at once. You can go online to learn more about trusts. Next, please. Retirement plans. There are many types of retirement plans. Know which retirement plan you have. You have a retire saving plan, deductible, that's a traditional IRAs, individual retirement accounts, non-deductible IRAs, you have Roth IRAs, 401k, savings plans, Roth 401k, the simple IRA, and a SEP IRA. Now, our beloved Rabbi, our Kohen, can tell us more about that. I urge you to check our page on Facebook, right, for upcoming presentations. We have so many committees, brothers and sisters, so many committees that are preparing presentations for the community, right? We have, of course, this is the essential documents. We have nutrition committee, agriculture committee, financial planning, as I stated with our rabbi, right? Pooled resources, communications. We have survival and protection committee, 5G network, right? We have a mandatory vaccination committee, homeschooling, exit strategy. We have rapid response, and we have a black book business. I urge you to keep your ears open and your eyes open for these presentations. We will be sending out invitations and notices to all of these presentations in the immediate near future, right? They are very good to have. Next, please. Funeral arrangements. This is something that people don't like to talk about, but let me tell you, if you were born and you're still alive, you're going to die sooner or later. So you need to prepare, because death is only a part of life. Dying is a part of living, I should say. The act of making arrangements for final disposition, slika, including funeral, memorial, ceremony, or other services. Plans prior to death. Advanced planning can involve simply recording one's wishes. They call it pre-planning or prepaying. You can also prepay for your funeral in advance, also known as pre-needed funeral planning. Create a checklist, a list of all of the issues that to consider when planning a funeral. As always, talk with your family and your spokesperson. Now, over these last 2 years, we've lost loved ones that we never expected to lose, right? We thought they would live for a good while at least, and they're no longer with us. So planning for a funeral Don't be sad. As a matter of fact, if you plan for a funeral, once that's all done, you can go on and live, and you're good, because you know if something happens to you, you're going to be taken care of.
Salakli, Toda, Salakli.
Okay.
Apologize. Galaxy A21, could you please turn off your video? Galaxy A21, please turn off your video. This is being recorded. Salakli, Moreh.
Okay, Toda, Queen. Yes. So all these things that we have to prepare for, it's a fact of life, brothers and sisters. We've been behind the 8 ball for so long. The key word here is preparing. Be prepared. I mean, someone passes, you can't help but to grieve. You're gonna cry, you're gonna grieve, you're gonna miss them. But life goes on. Life goes on. You may never get over the death of losing a loved one, but over time you will be able to cope much better, right? And if we're all truly trying to please the Father, then we have a long life to look forward to. Bavakashah Rabbi, next slide. Master digital list of accounts. What is this, you may say? Fiduciaries and family will not be able to access your information while you are incapacitated or after your transition, which means after you die. This list helps fiduciaries and designated family members find your valuable and significant information. Keep administration costs down, provide a smooth administration, and make sure no property is overlooked. You should use an encrypted electronic list for security, convenience, and ease of updating. Now, okay, that's good, because everything is just about going digital now. But I also like the old-fashioned way. Simply write it down. Simply write it down. You may have a cryptocurrency account, bank accounts. You may do online banking. You may have other things that you do online or electronically. And all these things have passwords to them. You don't want anybody getting access to your passports. If you don't want any electronical, digital safekeepings for your digital master accounts, then write it down. I have both, right? Because as we get older, we tend to forget something lots of times. So if you write them down and keep them in a safe place, if something happened to you, your designated spokesperson will know where to go to access these passwords. And one good thing about a master digital list of account, even though you may have many passwords within that program, all you need to know is one master password to get access to all the rest of the passwords, right? And I know a lot of the older ones are not computer savvy. I'm one of them. I'm not too savvy with computers. As a matter of fact, I had to get help from Rabbi tonight to share my screen. But I'm learning, and I'm not afraid to learn. I'm trying. So if that will help, I know, don't worry about the hackers and all these types of things. But a master's digital account, the benefits are good. Once you're good resources, right, for the master digital accounts. You can use an electronic list to keep track of all of your separate, strong passwords for each online account that you use. An electronic list can be stored on a smartphone, a computer, or even a portable storage device, or in the cloud. When choosing software or a web-based service to keep an encrypted electronic list of passwords online, accounts, and digital property, right? Look for one that synchronizes your list among your computers, tablet, or smartphone, and the cloud, if desired, so that it is easily accessible by you. Also, look for one that integrates with your web browser to securely and automatically enter the user's name and passwords for your online accounts. In addition to being a time saver, it also encourages you to use separate strong passwords. 5 of the most popular free and commercial software tools to keep an encrypted electronic list, right? Or password, dash lane, and so forth and so on. But you may not want to keep a digital list, right? A master digital list of accounts. Write them down, as I said earlier, and keep them in a safe place. And one thing, as we are closing out, to choose, right? Don't forget to choose a spokesperson, someone that you can trust, someone that you feel that will carry out your wishes after your transition, and everything will be good. And also make copies. Now, the experts say you should have at least 3 months of emergency money in the house. Mind you now, they say 3 months of emergency money in the house. Now, I know a lot of us, we can't see 3 months of emergency money in the house. But let me tell you, a little bit of money in the house is better than none. It's much, much better than having all your money in the bank than when the lights go out and you can't even access the ATM. You know, credit cards won't be working, electricity will be down. So it's best to have some money in home. We have to prepare ourselves. The go bag, I'm not going to get into the go bag in detail, because like I said, our Survival and Protection Committee will be going into the go bag in detail. But to briefly describe a go bag or a bug out bag is a bag or a knapsack or something like that where you have at least 72 hours worth of rations, right? You have your flashlight, your first aid kit, water, right? Some dehydrated food, you know. You keep that in your go bag. You have it by the door in the closet somewhere where you can just get it anytime, just in case of evacuation. And keep a copy of all of your essential documents in that bag, right? You should make at least 2 or 3 copies of each. So you have one in your go bag, one in your accessible desk or whatever, you know. But it wouldn't make sense to have them in the safe deposit box, especially when the grid goes down. You can't access the safe deposit box. So let's be wise, brothers and sisters. I thank you for joining me on this essential documents presentation. Are there any questions before we close out? If not, then always drop us an email at essential documents at Proton Mail, ICVC essential documents .protonmail. And I'm going to put my email into the chat. So if you need to ask me a question or get in touch with me, then I can assist you in an expedited manner. Toda Rabah for tuning in. And I hope this was helpful.
Yes, absolutely, Moreh. Excellent presentation. And we do have it recorded. Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Great information.
I thank you, Rabbi. I couldn't have done it without you. Oh, I can't. I'll be remiss if I don't mention my co-committee members. Rabbinite Queen Adira, Eshet Rabbi Benjamin HaKohen, our sister Achot Noya Kalabat Zion, Princess Medea, and Saraya. They're some strong sisters, and I appreciate you. I couldn't have done it without all of them.
Hallelujah. Are there any other questions from anyone or comments?
Shalom. Sister Deborah Levy Rubin. Thank you for the excellent presentation by our elder
Moreh Amram.
Lewi and your committee, and I'm so glad it's recorded. This is essential for the nation of Israel, and you did an excellent presentation, you and your committee, and I got a lot out of it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your information.
Toda Rabah, Koti. Toda Rabah. You know, we all need each other's help. No man or no woman is an island. We can't make it without each other. We got in this mess together, and we're going to get ourselves out of this mess together. By
With the help of the Most High, yes.
Yes, yes.
Hallelujah. Moreh, can you close us out with a prayer? This has been beautiful.
King, thank you for your participation, everyone.
Hallelujah.
Let us humble our spirits. O Most High, creator of heaven and earth, maker, owner, and possessor of all things and everything. To you do we give all honor and glory, Yah. We thank you for everything. We thank you for life, health, and strength, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We thank you for the food, the clothing, and the shelter. Oh, Yah, we thank you for your loving kindness and your tender mercies,
Mercy.
for your compassion, and for your favor that you have granted us, Yah. We thank you, Yah, for even allowing us to travel throughout the breadth and length of this earth without any problems or incidents, Jehovah. Even as 1,000 fall at our side and 10,000 at our...
10,000, but 9 should
Oh,
come
Yah,
unto thee.
we thank you, Yah. We thank you. We praise your high and holy name. We put our trust in you. Yah, we asking that our works, our efforts will be acceptable before you, O great King, and that thou will bless us. Bless each and every one that's on this presentation. Bless each and every committee, Jehovah. Bless each and every camp, synagogue, community of thy people, Yisrael, Yah. We actually will be with the teachers and the leaders, the men, the women, the priests, the rabbis, the children, oh Yah, each and every family. Guide, shield, and protect us. Keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger, all evil seen and unseen, Yah. For we need your help in these days and times. We can't lift hand or foot, O thou great one. Thou art Yah, and there is none else. O Yah, bless us, Bavakusha. Cause our hearts to discern, and our mind and our hearts to retain your law, O Yah. Grant us a long lives, happiness, prosperity, unity, and peace, Jehovah. Quicken our spirits, O Yah. Quicken us, for we can't do it without you. All praises be unto thy most high and thy most holy name, now, even if forevermore. Baruch atah u'baruch shemcha le'olam wa'ed. In kamoka in eslacha b'hashemayim ve'haaretz. Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Torah.
Hallelujah.
Metsuyon, Metsuyon, Moreh.
King,
Lekum Yah.
Best
Erev Tov
again,
Lekim.
King. Hallelujah.
Toda Rabah, Moreh. Toda Rabah.
Lord
Rabba.
Eba. Lord Eba.
Shavuot Tov.
Shavuot Tov.
Lala Tov.
Laila Tov.
Lala Tov, Lala Tov, Lala Tov.
Shalom, family. Shalom, Lala Tov.